There's a very strange moment that happens right before everything changes. Right before the money shows up, before the relationship manifests, before the healing occurs, before your entire world rearranges itself into the beautiful vision you've been holding. And in that moment, everything looks absolutely wrong. The bills pile higher, the silence gets louder, the circumstances seem to laugh in your face. I'm going to tell you something that saved my sanity and changed how I walk through this world. That chaos, that mess, that absolute disorder you're experiencing right now, it's not evidence that your manifestation is failing. It's the final crumbling of the old world that cannot hold your new reality. The darkness before dawn is always darkest. And if you're in that space right now, where everything seems to be falling apart just when you thought it should be coming together, you need to hear this. You're not going backwards. You're not being punished. You're not doing it wrong. You're in the sacred chaos before the breakthrough, and I'm going to show you exactly how to recognize it, how to hold steady through it, and how to let it refine you instead of define you. I spent years working with the invisible laws that govern this universe. I've watched hundreds of souls stand right at the threshold of their greatest manifestations and turn back because they thought the chaos meant no. But here's what I learned, what I lived, what I witnessed again and again. Your manifestation doesn't fail in the chaos. It gets born through it. The universe is not a gentle grandmother who hands you things wrapped in silk. The universe is a fierce mother who sometimes has to break your fever, reorganize your life, and strip away everything that would poison your blessing. So in this conversation, I'm going to walk you through the 7 unmistakable signs that your manifestation is not falling apart but coming together. I'm going to give you the ancient spiritual laws that explain why life gets messy right before it gets miraculous. And I'm going to show you exactly how to stand firm, speak your word, and let the chaos do its holy work without letting it shake your faith. Because the person who can stand steady while their world reorganizes is the person who receives what they asked for. Let me tell you about a time when I thought I had lost everything. I had spoken my word for prosperity. I had declared abundance. I had held the vision with everything in me. And then, as if the universe had a wicked sense of humor, everything began to unravel. My phone rang with unexpected bills. A project I counted on dissolved. People I thought were solid suddenly became uncertain. My bank account looked like a joke, and my faith was being tested in ways I didn't think possible. I remember sitting in my apartment, looking at the stack of envelopes I was afraid to open, and thinking, I must have done something wrong. The law must not work. God must not hear me. And then something shifted. I got very, very quiet. I stopped running from the feeling. I stopped trying to control every little thing. And in that silence, I heard the truth that would change everything. This is not your ending. This is your transition. The old structure is collapsing because it cannot hold what's coming. You see, I had been trying to pour new wine into old wineskins. I had been asking for a completely new level of abundance while still operating from old patterns, old relationships, old ways of receiving. The universe wasn't denying my request. It was clearing the space for it. It was tearing down the shack so it could build the mansion. Within weeks, everything I thought I lost was replaced with something 10 times better. The money came from directions I never anticipated. The opportunities were bigger than what disappeared. The people who left made room for aligned souls who actually celebrated my growth. But here's the key. The breakthrough only came because I didn't abandon my word in the chaos. I didn't look at the mess and declare defeat. I looked at the mess and said, this is the rearrangement. This is the preparation. I hold steady. That's what I want to teach you today. How to read the chaos correctly. How to interpret the signs. How to know when the crumbling is actually the clearing. The first sign that your manifestation is close is the sudden removal of people, situations, or opportunities you thought were essential. Listen carefully. Before your new reality can arrive, your old reality must dissolve. And often, the old reality includes people who are vibrating at the frequency of your former self, not your future self. You'll notice friendships that felt solid suddenly feel strained. Relationships that you thought were forever start showing cracks. Jobs or projects that you were clinging to begin to slip through your fingers. And your ego will scream that this is loss. Your ego will tell you to grip tighter, to force it, to panic. But your soul knows better. Your soul knows that you cannot step into the new room while clutching everything from the old room. The universe is not cruel when it removes things. The universe is precise, it's making space. It's clearing the table before serving the feast. If things are falling away right now, don't chase them, bless them, thank them, release them. They've completed their assignment in your story. The second sign is an increase in obstacles right when momentum was building. You were feeling good, you were feeling aligned, you were taking action, and everything seemed to be flowing. And then suddenly, walls, delays, complications, things that should be simple become difficult. Technology breaks, people don't call back, plans fall through. And this is where most people quit. They interpret the obstacles as stop signs. But I'm here to tell you, obstacles right before manifestation are not stop signs. They're tests. They're the universe asking, do you really want this? Are you really committed? Or are you only committed when it's easy? Think about a woman in labor. Right before the baby crowns, right before the birth, there's something called transition. It's the most intense, painful, chaotic part of the entire process. And if a woman didn't know she was in labor, she might think she was dying. But she's not dying, she's about to deliver. Your obstacles are transition. Your difficulty is dilation. You're not being blocked, you're being prepared to push through to the other side. The third sign is emotional intensity that seems to come out of nowhere. Old wounds resurface, old fears knock on your door. You find yourself crying, angry, anxious, or doubting in ways you thought you'd healed. And here's what's happening. Your manifestation is calling you to match its frequency. If you're manifesting a new level of love, abundance, peace, or power, you cannot carry old shame, old bitterness, old fear into that reality. So the universe, in its infinite intelligence, is bringing everything unlike your manifestation to the surface to be cleared. It's not punishment, it's purification. You're being asked to release the emotional baggage that would weigh down your blessing. This is why I always say, when the feelings come up, let them. Don't suppress, don't spiritually bypass. Don't pretend you're fine when you're not. Feel it, speak to it, forgive it, release it. Every tear you cry right now is washing away an old agreement with lack, pain, or limitation. You're not falling apart. You're clearing out. The fourth sign is divine discontent. You become allergic to anything that's not aligned. That job you tolerated? Suddenly unbearable. That relationship you settled in? Suddenly suffocating. The places you used to go, the content you used to consume, the conversations you used to have, all of it starts to feel wrong. And you might think something's wrong with you. You might think you're being ungrateful or difficult. But actually, you're vibrating at the frequency of your new reality, and everything that belongs to your old reality is now incompatible. This is a gift. This divine discontent is your soul's way of saying, we don't live here anymore. It's the feeling that propels you forward, that makes staying where you are more painful than the risk of leaping. Don't numb this feeling. Don't medicate it. Don't shame yourself for it. Honor it. It's your inner compass pointing toward your true north. The fifth sign is synchronicities mixed with setbacks. You'll see your manifestation everywhere. Numbers, songs, conversations, signs that confirm you're on the right path. And then in the same day, something will go wrong. You'll get the sign and the setback, the confirmation and the confusion, the hope and the hurdle, all mixed together. This isn't mixed messages from the universe. This is the old and new worlds overlapping. You're living in the space between what was and what will be. The synchronicities are showing you the new world is real. The setbacks are the last gasps of the old world trying to maintain its grip. Don't let the setbacks cancel out the signs. Hold both. Acknowledge both. But put your faith in the signs. What you focus on expands. And if you keep feeding the setbacks with your attention and energy, you'll delay your manifestation. Feed the signs. Follow the synchronicities. Trust the winks from the universe even when your circumstances haven't caught up yet. The sixth sign is isolation and withdrawal. You'll notice you want to be alone more. You don't want to explain yourself. You don't want to defend your vision. You don't have energy for small talk or surface-level connections. And people might judge you for this. They might call you distant, or different, or too much. But what's really happening is you're cocooning. You're in the chrysalis stage. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly in public, surrounded by crowds and opinions. It withdraws. It goes inward. It dissolves into complete vulnerability and trust, and then it emerges transformed. If you're feeling the pull to be alone right now, honor it. This isn't depression. This isn't isolation born of fear. This is sacred solitude. This is you protecting your frequency, your vision, your tender new reality from the voices that would judge it, question it, or diminish it before it's fully formed. You're not running away from life. You're turning inward to rebuild your life from the inside out. The seventh sign is the dark night of the soul. This is the big one. This is when everything I've described intensifies all at once. You feel stripped. You feel like nothing is working. You question everything you believed. You wonder if you made it all up, if the law is real, if God is listening, if you're just fooling yourself. This is the moment of ultimate testing. This is the moment where you're asked to have faith not because you see evidence, but because you choose to believe anyway. Every prophet, every mystic, every person who has ever manifested something magnificent has walked through this dark night. It's not a sign you're doing it wrong. It's a sign you're at the final gate. The dark night comes right before the dawn, because this is where you stop manifesting from ego and start manifesting from soul. This is where your faith stops being a strategy and becomes your identity. If you're in the dark night right now, I need you to hear this. Don't you dare give up. You're so close, closer than you've ever been. The darkness is not the end. It's the doorway. Walk through it. Keep speaking your word. Keep holding your vision. Keep trusting, even when it makes no logical sense. The dawn is coming, and it's bringing everything you asked for. Now, let me give you the practices that will help you navigate this chaos with grace. First, speak the word daily. Not just once, not just when you feel good. Daily. Your word is your anchor. It's the declaration that holds steady when everything else is shaking. Every morning, before you check your phone, before you look at your circumstances, speak your truth. Say it out loud. My good is coming to me now. The universe is rearranging everything in my favor. I trust the divine timing. I am supported, guided, and provided for. It doesn't matter if you believe it fully in that moment. Speak it anyway. Your word has power, and the more you speak it, the more you reshape your inner world, and your outer world has no choice but to follow. Second, practice divine indifference to appearances. This is one of my most powerful teachings. Divine indifference doesn't mean you don't care. It means you don't let the temporary appearance shake your knowing. When the bill comes, you look at it and say, "This is temporary. My abundance is permanent." When the person doesn't call, you say, "What's mine cannot miss me." When the door closes, you say, "Something better is opening." You stop giving the outer world the power to dictate your inner state. You become so anchored in the invisible truth that the visible lies can't move you. This takes practice, but it's the difference between people who manifest occasionally and people who live in a constant state of flow. Third, bless everything. And I mean everything. Bless the chaos. Bless the bill. Bless the person who left. Bless the delay. Bless the door that closed. Bless the fear that came up. Because what you're really doing is blessing the divine intelligence at work in your life. You're saying, "There's something here I don't see yet. There's a plan unfolding that's bigger than my fear." I've watched people transform their entire reality with this practice. A woman came to me once, terrified because she'd been let go from a job she'd held for 15 years. She was in her 50s, convinced her life was over. I told her, "Bless it. Every single day, bless that ending." She thought I was mad, but she did it anyway. She'd wake up and say, "I bless the closing of that chapter. I bless the divine plan now revealed." Within 2 months, she'd started her own consulting practice. Within a year, she was making 3 times what she'd earned before. And she told me, "I would never have had the courage to do this if I hadn't been pushed out of my comfort zone." That's the secret nobody tells you. Your comfort zone isn't comfortable, it's just familiar. And familiar often means small. It means limited. It means safe in a way that keeps you from your true destiny. Now, here's where people get confused. They think blessing something means being passive. They think it means just accepting whatever happens and doing nothing. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, bless it first, then act from a place of faith rather than fear. There's a world of difference between those two positions. When you act from fear, you're frantic, scattered, desperate. You make poor decisions because you're in survival mode. But when you bless the situation first, when you acknowledge the divine intelligence at work, something shifts inside you. You become calm, centered, clear, and from that place, you make brilliant decisions. You see opportunities you couldn't see before, doors open that were invisible when you were panicking. I call it the divine pivot. It's that moment when you stop fighting against what is and start working with the universe instead of against it. And I promise you, the universe is far more intelligent than your limited human perspective. So here's your practice. Whatever you're afraid of right now, whatever's making you anxious, whatever feels like it's going wrong, start blessing it. Out loud if you can. I bless this situation. I bless the divine plan, now revealed. I bless the perfect outcome that's already on its way to me. Do it every morning. Do it every night. Do it whenever the fear creeps back in. Because here's what most people don't understand about this process. The blessing isn't just a nice spiritual practice. It's actual work. It's reshaping the invisible substance that surrounds every situation in your life. You see, every circumstance, every person, every seemingly stuck situation is surrounded by spiritual substance. And that substance responds to your word. When you curse something, when you say, "This will never work," or "They'll never change," or "I'm always going to struggle," you're hardening that substance around the problem. You're building a wall. But when you bless, you're dissolving that wall. You're making that substance malleable again. You're opening a pathway for the divine to rush in and rearrange everything according to the perfect pattern. I knew a man once who had been estranged from his brother for 15 years. 15 years of silence, of hurt, of pride. Every mutual friend had tried to reconcile them. Nothing worked. The situation felt permanent, fossilized. Then he started blessing it. Not blessing the estrangement, blessing the perfect relationship that already existed in the divine mind. Every single day, he would say, "I bless the perfect love between my brother and me. I bless the divine understanding that dissolves all separation. I see us reconciled, and I give thanks for the perfect outcome." He did this for 3 months. And you know what happened? His brother called him, out of nowhere, said he'd been thinking about him, said it was time to talk. That's not coincidence. That's spiritual law at work. Now, I want to be very clear about something. This isn't about controlling other people. You cannot use blessing to manipulate someone's free will. But you can bless the highest good for everyone involved. And when you do that, you align yourself with a power that can orchestrate circumstances in ways your human mind could never devise. The universe has a million ways to solve your problem, a million doors you don't even know exist. But when you're stuck in fear, when you're rehearsing the worst-case scenario, you're standing with your back to all those doors. Blessing turns you around. It opens your eyes. It attunes you to possibilities you couldn't see before. So here's your practice, and I mean this very practically. Start identifying the situations in your life that feel impossible, the ones where you've given up hope, the relationships that seem beyond repair, the financial problems that feel like they'll never resolve, the health issues that terrify you. Write them down if you need to. And then, one by one, begin blessing the perfect outcome for each of them. I remember a young artist who came to me, paralyzed by the fear that her creative gifts were drying up. She hadn't painted in months. Every time she approached her canvas, panic seized her. What if I've lost it? She would whisper to herself. What if that last piece was the final good thing I'll ever create? I gave her this practice. Each morning, before her feet touched the floor, she was to speak aloud. I bless the infinite creativity flowing through me now. I bless every painting that wants to be born through my hands. I bless the divine artist within me. Within 2 weeks, she was painting again. Not because the fear had vanished completely, but because the blessing had opened a channel that fear had temporarily blocked. The creative force doesn't leave us. We simply cut ourselves off from it through our anxious thoughts. Blessing reconnects the circuit. Now here's something vitally important about this practice. Blessing is not the same as positive thinking, and it's certainly not denial. When you bless something, you're not pretending the problem doesn't exist. You're not putting a cheerful mask over a frightening situation. You're invoking the highest possible outcome. You're calling forth the divine solution that already exists in the invisible realm, waiting to manifest. There's a profound difference between saying, "I'm not sick, I'm perfectly fine," when your body is clearly struggling, and saying, "I bless the perfect healing that is now made manifest in my body." One is denial, the other is invocation. You see, the spiritual laws don't respond to our pretending, they respond to our faith. And faith isn't blind, it's visionary. It sees past the current appearance to the divine reality underneath. So when you bless, you acknowledge where you are, but you refuse to worship the problem. You refuse to feed it with your attention and your words. Instead, you feed the solution. You water the seeds of what you wish to see bloom. Let me be very practical here. Some of you are thinking, but Florence, what about serious situations? What about when someone I love is truly in danger? Isn't blessing just wishful thinking then? This is when blessing becomes most powerful. When the storm is fiercest, blessing is your anchor. I've learned this through experience I'll never forget. Years ago, I received word that a dear friend was gravely ill. The doctors had given their most somber predictions. My first instinct was to rush into panic, to rehearse in my mind all the terrible outcomes that might unfold. But then I remembered the law. Fear is a prayer for what you don't want. Worry is faith in failure. So instead, I began to bless. Not with forced cheerfulness or denial of the situation's gravity, but with deep spiritual conviction. I blessed her with perfect health. I blessed the doctors with divine guidance. I blessed every cell in her body with life and vitality. I blessed the outcome, whatever it might be, as ultimately good. And something extraordinary happened. Not just externally, though she did recover in a way that astonished everyone, but internally. The blessing transformed my own consciousness. The fear that had gripped my chest released its hold. I found myself able to be present, helpful, clear-headed. I could visit her with genuine joy rather than morbid sympathy. And that energy, that vibration of life and hope, became something she could lean on during her darkest hours. You see, when you bless someone in crisis, you're not ignoring reality, you're invoking a higher reality. You're calling forth the divine pattern that exists beyond present appearances. You're refusing to accept the verdict of circumstances as final. This is not denial. It's spiritual discernment. It's the ability to see beyond the veil of the visible into the realm of infinite possibility. The Apostle Paul said we should call those things that are not as though they are. This is the essence of blessing. You speak to the divine perfection within and around every situation, even when it's hidden from physical sight. Let me be clear about something important. Blessing doesn't guarantee that circumstances will unfold exactly as you picture them. The universe has wisdom beyond our limited human understanding. Sometimes the answer to our blessing is yes, sometimes it's no, and sometimes it's something better than we imagined. But what blessing always does is align you with the highest good. It removes you from the vibration of fear and places you in the vibration of faith. And from that place, you become a channel for healing, for miracles, for grace. When you bless someone in danger, you surround them with light. You become a spiritual guardian, holding space for their highest outcome. This is the great secret of the ages, that we are not powerless observers of life, but powerful directors of it. Every thought you think, every word you speak, every feeling you hold is a creative force in the universe. You are constantly broadcasting your consciousness, and the universe is constantly responding. I knew a woman who understood this profoundly. Her son was traveling overseas during a time of great political unrest. Every mother's instinct screamed fear. Every news report fed the anxiety, but she made a different choice. Every morning and every evening, she would sit quietly and surround her son with brilliant white light. She would speak his name and say, "Divine intelligence guides your every step. God's perfect protection surrounds you. You are divinely led and divinely protected." She didn't do this once and forget it. She did it faithfully, as regularly as breathing. And something remarkable happened. Not only did her son return home safely, but he later told her about inexplicable moments during his travels. Times when he felt an unmistakable urge to change his plans, to take a different route, to wait instead of proceed. Each of these intuitive nudges kept him from danger he didn't even know was there. That wasn't coincidence. That was her spiritual work made manifest. That was love operating through the invisible channels of divine protection. You see, when you hold someone in the light, you're not manipulating or controlling. You're aligning with the highest vision for their journey. You're clearing the pathway for divine guidance to reach them. You're creating an atmosphere where miracles become natural. And here's what many people miss. This spiritual work benefits you just as much as it benefits them. When you consciously choose blessing over cursing, love over fear, you transform your own consciousness. You cannot hold another in the light without standing in the light yourself. You cannot speak words of protection without protecting your own peace. You cannot radiate love without becoming more loving. This is the mystical mathematics of the spiritual life. What you give, you receive. What you bless, blesses you. What you release to divine care is taken care of divinely. I've seen this truth demonstrated again and again in the most remarkable ways. A woman once came to me, deeply troubled about a debt she owed. She had been holding resentment toward the creditor, feeling victimized and wronged. I told her, bless this person, see them prospered and made whole, release this debt into the hands of infinite intelligence. She protested, naturally. But they don't deserve my blessing. They've been harsh and demanding. I reminded her, your blessing is not for their sake alone, it's for yours. Resentment is a prison you lock yourself in. The key is forgiveness and blessing. She agreed to try. Each day, she spoke words of blessing over this creditor. Within 3 weeks, an unexpected inheritance came to her from a distant relative she'd barely known. The amount was exactly enough to pay the debt, with something left over for her own needs. But more miraculous than the money was the transformation in her heart. She told me, I feel free. The weight I'd been carrying is gone. This is the mystery. When you bless what seems to be your enemy or your problem, you dissolve its power over you. You rise above the realm of conflict into the realm of love. And love is the supreme harmonizing force in the universe. Now, you might be thinking, but what if I've been giving and I'm exhausted? What if I feel depleted? This is where we must understand the difference between giving from ego and giving from spirit. The ego gives to get. It gives with strings attached, with expectations, with a sense of sacrifice. This kind of giving does indeed deplete you, because it's not true giving at all, it's bartering. Spirit gives freely, joyfully, without attachment to outcome. It gives, because giving is its nature. When you give from this place, you are not diminished, you are increased. You become a channel, not a reservoir. The water flows through you, not from you. I once knew a woman who volunteered tirelessly at a hospital, yet she always seemed radiant, energized, alive. When I asked her secret, she said, I don't see myself as giving anything. I see myself as allowing love to move through me. I'm simply the instrument. The music comes from somewhere far greater. That is the secret. You are not the source, you are the vessel. And the source is infinite, inexhaustible, eternally replenishing. So examine your giving today. Are you giving from duty or delight? From obligation or inspiration? From fear of lack or trust in abundance? Your giving reveals your consciousness of supply. I've watched people write checks with trembling hands, their faces tight with worry, wondering if there would be enough left over. And I've watched others give the same amount with radiant smiles, knowing more was already on its way. The amount wasn't different. The consciousness was everything. When you give grudgingly, you're actually affirming lack. You're telling the universe, I don't believe there's enough. I don't trust the supply. And the universe, ever faithful to your word, responds accordingly. But when you give joyfully, even if it's the widow's mite, you're affirming abundance. You're declaring, I am connected to infinite supply. What flows through me can never be depleted. And watch how the channels open. I'm not suggesting you give beyond your means or give foolishly. Wisdom and faith are not enemies, they're partners. But I am suggesting you examine the spirit behind every gift, every contribution, every offering. Does it feel like loss or circulation, like draining or flowing? The difference is your entire relationship with prosperity. And here's something else I've observed. The universe has an uncanny way of matching your measure. If you give with a teaspoon, life returns with a teaspoon. If you give with a shovel, life returns with a shovel. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over. This isn't poetry, it's physics. Spiritual physics, perhaps, but physics nonetheless. The channels through which you give are the channels through which you receive. Block one, and you block both. Open one, and watch the circulation begin. So tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself, where have I been withholding? Where have I been giving from fear rather than faith? Where have I confused hoarding with security? And then, tomorrow, give something. Not from your surplus, but from your supply. Not what's left over, but what feels alive. Not to prove anything, but to practice the truth of circulation. Give your attention. Give your appreciation. Give your talent. Give your treasure. Give as the sun gives light, because it's your nature, because you can't help it, because the holding back would be the real sacrifice. This is how you become a channel, not a container. This is how abundance finds you.